The iconic soft-spoken voice of Sterling Holloway reading Aesop's Fables was one of the first recordings to emerge from the celebrated Sunset Sound Studios. Here, we'll explore the recording and briefly look at how the Sunset Sound originated. Welcome to the Disney Scrapbook, where together we take a journey to explore Disney history from 50 years ago. My name is Nolan. This is part 2 of my review of Disneyland Records double feature released in 1972. Animal Stories of Aesop and the Best Stories of Aesop. If you have not had a chance to watch part 1 of the series, I will leave a link to it below.
Aesop was one of the most famous storytellers who ever lived. His stories are so much part of our culture that it's hard to believe that they go back to a time many centuries before the birth of Christ. Aesop was a slave, freed by his master, Iadmon of Samos, who admired his keen wit. The people of Athens erected a statue of him. The great philosopher Socrates wrote poems about his stories. He visited the court of wealthy King Croesus, where he met Solon the Wise, who was given the task of straightening out the government of Greece. Aesop, in short, had quite a life.
Side 1 of the Best of Stories of Aesop LP starts with the children cajoling Sterling to tell another story, accompanied by orchestral music that helps to create drama. He tells the well-known fable of the goose that laid the golden egg. The fable in which the goose lays golden eggs, but whose owners become dissatisfied with what they have and cut open the goose in the hopes of finding gold, only to discover that the inside of their goose is like any other. The music helps to create a climax in this story of how the greedy who want more lose all. Track 2 on the side is the only track in which Holloway requests the children to start him off with the story of the crow and the cheese, where the fox requests the crow to sing, and this causes the crow to drop the cheese it was carrying in its beak. The children interact with Holloway throughout this track, and even take a stab at the moral of the story as being "don't sing with your mouth full." However, Sterling says that the moral is flatterers are not to be trusted. The Hare and the Hound track on this LP sets itself apart by having different musical instruments associated with each of the different anthropomorphic characters within the story. Before the story is read, each of the children is given a character to be, and the story is retold of how a hound, having put up a hare from brush, chases her but lets her escape, giving the lesson that necessity is our strongest weapon. The track ends with Sterling yawning. A cacophony of children's voices requesting Holloway to tell stories opens side 2. Eventually, the conversation nudges him to tell the story of the dog in the manger without accompaniment, with the moral that some begrudge others what they cannot get themselves. Music introduces the last fable on this LP, The Hare and the Tortoise, a well-known story, with the moral that slow and steady wins the race. Here you can see that Disney legend Salvador Tutti Camarada composed this music called Hippity Hop. It also appears on the 1963 Peter Cottontail LP as an introduction to a piece of narration. I have previously reviewed the re-release of this Peter Cottontail LP on this channel, and I will leave a link to that video in the description down below. According to Tim Hollis and Greg Ehrbar in their book Mousetracks, the children's voices heard on these Aesop's Fable LPs are those of versatile voice actress Ginny Tyler and the children of 1991 Disney legend writer and producer Bill Walsh, Jamie, Kevin, and David, along with Gray, Jennifer, and Glynis Johnson, the children of Disney legend Jimmy Johnson, a Disney publicist and one of the driving forces behind Disneyland Records. Which will make sense as when accepting the Disney Legend Award for his father in 2006, Gray Johnson admitted that as children, he and his sisters were studio rats. Also, Tootie's son Paul recalls in an interview on the history of Sunset Sound Studios that one of his first memories of being at the studio was when
they had me in a couple children's records. I remember doing that. That was kind of cool. Got to do a little narration or something like that. Sterling Holloway, I think that's what his name. Yeah, he was Aesop's Fables. That's what it was. I somehow recall that.
This Disneyland double feature record was recorded at Sunset Sound Recorders on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, soon after Tootie Camerata opened the studio in 1960, having purchased the building in 1958. The basic brick of the building was an old automotive repair garage, in which the walls, ceiling, and floor all slanted toward one corner of the room, where the excess automotive fluid originally drained into. Non-parallel surfaces are ideal for acoustic control, and this went a long way into helping to create the distinctive Camerata sound. The extremely talented Salvador Tootie Camerata, an American composer, arranger, trumpeter, and record producer, helped co-found Disneyland Records and composed the background music on these two albums. In promoting the original albums in 1961 in Billboard magazine, it was said that Sterling Holloway tells these familiar stories by Aesop in his own pleasant way, aided by a group of children who listen to the stories and make comments. This Disneyland double feature album is definitely designed for children to listen to, and is excellent as such, making for easy listening. The use of Sterling Holloway's soft voice for this role was pure genius. His voice inflections are awesome, especially in the Sour Grape story. If you would like to listen to this LP, it can be purchased from Discogs, Amazon, eBay, and your local used record store. Thanks for lending an ear to my review of the Disneyland Records double feature, Animal Stories of Aesop and the Best Stories of Aesop. If you enjoyed this type of 50th anniversary content, please like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. The Disney Scrapbook channel will be producing other 50th anniversary content throughout the year that will include reviews of Disney films, LPs, books, and free book content. Thanks everybody for watching. TTFN. Ta-da for now.